Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Good morning, everyone. My name is Nora Rinnan, and I'm the Marketing Manager of Symphony ESM. I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar on how you can securely control and manage remote access. This webinar is co-hosted by Bomgar and Symphony. The webinar will be recorded, and you will receive a link to the recorded version by the end of this week. If you have any questions during this webinar, please use the chat functionality on the screen. We will answer the questions during and in the end of this session. Your microphones will be muted during the webinar. Let me now introduce you to today's first speaker, Stig Mogensen from Bomgar, who will set the scene for this webinar. Stig, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nora, and thank you to you and Symphony for organizing this webinar and giving us the opportunity to introduce you to Bomgar Privileged Access Management Solution. I have here next to me my good colleague, System Engineer Carl Langford.
Good morning.
He will shortly be giving you a demonstration of the solution, but first I will just give you a little bit of an introduction to Bomgar, who we are as a company, and place the solution into our overall solutions. So Bomgar as a company was founded in 2003 when Mr. Bomgar had a student job as a support engineer and found that he spent more time driving in between customer sites than actually fixing anything except his car. So he set out to develop a remote support solution that would make him spend his time more efficiently and improve the customer satisfaction. Today, more than 10,000 customers worldwide rely on Bomgar to make secure and efficient connections to their customers and end users. Bomgar today is recognized as a market leader in remote support for enterprise, and one of the reasons is our founding values. At the very core of our design, we've always aimed to manage the difficult balance between security and efficiency by reducing the attack surface and improve the productivity. And more we hear from our customers that they become more needs for being compliant with new legislation. So as you can see as we go on, security goes to the very core of the way that we have designed the solution, and Carl will show this both in his demonstration, but he will also show how Bomgar will help you improve your productivity. We started off as a company with a remote support solution that was aimed at IT service desk. We really saw that our customers were using this solution in three scenarios: to support their own internal users, to support their external customers, but also to give access to external consultants. And we recognized that there was a need in the market to both support one end here, which is the people and devices, but also systems and infrastructure. And when it comes to infrastructure, you often have to give privileged access to users, both internally and external, but how do you manage that? That means that today we are offering two solutions: the Enterprise Remote Solution and the Bomgar Privileged Access Management Solution, PAM. Bomgar PAM gives the organization the opportunity to control who access your infrastructure, for what reason, and to monitor and capture the change in an audible log file. Bomgar PAM is based on the same tried and tested and hardened architecture that we use for our remote support. It is centered around a hardened appliance which is unique to each customer, hosts each customer's own SSL certificates, and which brokered a VPN-free secure connection between the technicians and the system. The PAM software also allows you to give VPN-less access to third-party organizations, remote workers, granular access control with approval workflows, notifications, making it possible to allocate time slots, specific systems, or even black and whitelist applications. There's a possibility to collaborate and invite expertise into the session. There's possibility to have live screen monitoring and have access, and of course there will be an audible log files after each session. There's the possibility to support multi-factor authentication, and we support mobile devices. This means, for instance, that access can be approved from a mobile device. And as part of the way that we aim to improve efficiency, we also integrate with other solutions that you might use in your workflow. So Bomgar PAM integrate with Passport Vault. We are launching our own Passport Vault later this year. We integrate with SIM tools. And most importantly for today, we also integrate with ServiceNow so that you can authenticate your access request up against a change management ticket. This is the point where I'm going to hand you over to the capable hands of Carl, who will show you how this looks in reality.
Oh, thank you, Stig. So what I'm going to do today is run through part of our product suite, so bringing someone in securely onto a server to perform a change management ticket. And we'll look at some of the features and functionality we have with Bomgar to make it a very simple process and not hinder your productivity. So if I go ahead and just share my desktop, so we'll just see that appear now. What you'll see on my desktop is that I currently have a change that I need to work on from within ServiceNow. And within this change ticket, I can see all of the details. I see that it's currently approved, and that my start time is actually today. So when I want to connect to this asset, very simply, with our integration, I've got a button to start access with Bomgar PAM. Now, as I go ahead and do this, and I click the little button, it's going to run a script, and we'll see that script down here. And when I need to connect to this asset, it's going to ask me for the change reference, so that with Bomgar PAM, we can validate that this is a valid and approved change for the time period that we require access. So here we are. We can see it's loading that connection, and I need to type in my change request number. And now as I click OK, the appliance is going to go and check that from within ServiceNow. It's going to check that I'm the correct user to perform this change. So we're always making sure the right person has access to the right system. Now, when I need to connect, we've connected through our Bomgar Access Console. So this is a client you can install onto all of your systems, as well as sharing this with your third parties. Now, this client is pre-configured to your Bomgar appliance, so there's no need to have to set up any additional VPN connections or perform lots of configuration on those machines. And when we need to log in, we can press Ctrl-Alt-Delete, and if we want to, inject credentials from our secure password vault to log us in onto this system so we can perform the activities in that change. Now, the change here was for me to manage a service. So as I walk through the change and I need to actually make some changes, what we're doing is, in the background, we're capturing a tamper-proof audit trail of all of the activities on screen. So now that I've opened the services window, we'll be able to see that this has happened, and we'll look at the audit logs a bit later on into the session. I can find the service that I need to change, which is my print caller service. And as I look at the notes within ServiceNow, I can see I need to change the system account. And I can go ahead and do that very quickly from this menu and hit OK. Now, when I do that, I actually need to restart the service. So once I've done this, all of the actions I've taken during this change will be stored both on the Bomgar appliance, and it will automatically then update the change management ticket with our activities. So again, really focusing on providing that secure access with the ability to capture all of those details in one ticket.
All guests have been muted.
Sorry about that. As I go ahead and actually end this session, we'll see if I head back over into ServiceNow and reload this ticket. We'll see that Bomgar Access session has been posted under the work notes. We can see here my session for 4 minutes this morning. As I click into the information, I can scroll down and see everything that's happened during that change and everyone that was involved in it, as well as the system we connected to. And as we go through all of that system information, we can see the details of who is involved, so myself. As I hover over the information for all of these actions, we can see that the session started, and then later on we can capture perhaps a window title that had changed, and we can see which program was launched and which executable. So we're keeping a very granular audit trail within ServiceNow automatically of all of those change requests. Now, where Bomgar really enhances this is, as we said earlier, the ability to provision access very quickly to your third-party vendors. Now, for your third parties where perhaps you don't have the ability to deploy that client, we actually have a different interface they can use. So within Bomgar PAM, instead of using this feature-rich stick client, we also provide a web console. Now you can see here, I'm logged in as an external vendor, and instead of having access to lots of systems, I only have access to these 5. Now, when I need to connect to these systems, it's a very straightforward process. Again, I can either initiate it from within ServiceNow, or I can in fact just select it from my list and hit jump. And this is going to broker the connection through the web browser. I can again inject my credentials if I need to use those, so my third party doesn't have to know what they are. I'm then able to go ahead and log into this server using only my web browser without any additional plugins. So it's just a HTML5 website. And then I'm free to use and interact with this server as if I was sat in front of that system. I can go ahead and continue working as normal. Now, where we can start to apply more granular control is around the access and notification of people starting these sessions. So we have the ability, as you've seen, to approve these access requests through ServiceNow, but we also have another workflow which allows you to approve this access via email. So when I need to connect to this system here, we can see that I have a policy requiring approval, and when I go ahead and try to connect to the system, I need to give a reason why I need to connect. So here I can just say I need to work, hit send. I can then choose a duration that I require access. So I can say, well, I need access from this morning for 1 hour, and hit send. And then this has gone ahead and generated an authorization request, which can be approved by an email approver. Now, this can also be approved from your mobile phone, but you can also go ahead and approve this from within your email. So if I head back to my web browser and open my email, what I'll see is that detailed authorization request about why someone requires access. If I just pop this on my unread email, we'll see that authorization request come in, and I can then approve access to that endpoint. Now, in the meantime, whilst we're just waiting for that email to come through, some of the other functionality we have within Bomgar is to connect to different types of systems other than Windows. So we have the ability to connect to headless Linux systems. So these can be both on the cloud and within your network. And when I go to connect to this system, it's going to send an email out just notifying someone that I'm connecting. And we can see that here as I'll start the session. And as that's starting, again, we're using secure and encrypted connections. They're all brokered with SSL connections that are secured with SSL version 3 and TLS version 1.2. And now that I've connected to the system, I'm able to work on this. And again, this being a command line headless Linux box, it's not such a pretty interface, but again, a very powerful one. Now I can continue working. As I'm working on these different sessions, I can flick backwards and forwards between them very simply by selecting different sessions from a different list. And it will then take me back through to the other active session. Now, one of the things we mentioned in addition to being able to work on all these different platforms is to work collaboratively together. So one of the things I might want to do is actually bring someone into this session securely. And I can bring someone in on a different platform. So if I needed to invite myself to come and join this with Scott. As I click the share button, an invitation is going to be sent to myself to come and join this meeting, and I can go ahead and see here that I've just received an invitation, and apologies for the quick change there. I can then go ahead and join that, and we can work collaboratively together in this session. If I pop the window out, we can see both Scott and myself is connected. So that's our collaboration aspect. Again, all of this information being captured in that audit trail. Now, if we take a look in my email, we'll see that authorization request has come through. We can see here that it's pending approval. I can see the system I need to connect to, as well as who needs to connect and the reason why and for how long. I can then go ahead and respond to that request simply by clicking the link. I can leave some comments, like, okay, great. Hit approve or deny. I'm obviously going to approve this. And as I approve it, if I look back in my window, I can see a notification just saying that my jump authorization request has been approved, so I now have access to that system. I click OK, I can head back into my list, and I'm now able to go ahead and connect through to this machine. It's going to send a notification out, alerting someone that I'm connecting. So if we want to monitor that session, we now have that notification saying someone is connected. You can see what they're now doing. I can see the comments that were left for me. And again, I can go ahead, log into this server, and go ahead and continue working. So I'll type my password in there. Now, once I am connected with this system, we actually have a more secure access policy in place. So one of the things I've done with this system, at the moment it looks like we just did a black screen, but I've actually put an application whitelisting policy in place. So using Bomgar, we're able to restrict what users can and can't do on these systems as well. So my user here, he only has access to Notepad on the system, and the reason why is because that's the only application I'd like him to see. This could be something like Active Directory users' computers, or a custom application, but here I'm going to go ahead and have to launch Notepad from our Special Actions menu, because my user doesn't even have access to the Start menu. So we can see here I've managed to launch that window, and I can continue working and as if I'm in front of that PC without any access to the rest of that system, so a highly restrictive policy. Now we can also apply the reverse of that, so if we wanted to restrict only a couple of applications to stop people leapfrogging onto another system within your network, we can also apply that in a blacklist to stop people launching those type of tools. Now, if I just take a look back at my email a second, I should see those notifications explaining that someone is connected. We can see here that we have a session start notification for this workstation. I can see Scott's connected and at what time. Now, from within my console, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and monitor that session. So I could select here, I see Scott's there. I could monitor, or I could take over the session. If I take over the session, I'm free to go ahead and see exactly what Scott's doing, but also remove him from that session if there's something going on that I'm not happy with. So here I can see Scott's obviously not working. I can quickly remove him from that session, leaving myself to go ahead and wrap up what he was doing there and finish off those changes. So now that I've done that, I don't want to save the changes Scott made as I wasn't happy with them, and I can go ahead and close that session. Again, all of that information being captured in the audit trail. So one of the things I'd like to show you now is the type of information we capture in the audit trail. Obviously you've seen that from within the ServiceNow record, but we also capture a video recording of these sessions. So if I go ahead and log into my appliance, what I can do is show you the reporting interface. And from here, we have the ability to just list all of the session reports. If I hit show report, we'll see there's quite a few of them on this box. It's about 1,800. And one of the things we don't want to do is actually go through 1,800 reports to find the one session that we need to analyze. So one of the things we built in with Bomgar is the ability to use session forensics. So instead of having to go ahead and manually search for all of these records, we can search for an event So if I wanted to find where I changed my print spooler services, I could search for the word print, and it's going to show me every session where this has occurred, and we can see some this morning. If I click view, it's going to go ahead and render the video recording to that point where I actually launched that application. We'll see that here. It's automatically jumped 1 minute and 15 into the session. I can click play on the video recording and see that's when I actually launched the print spooler properties and went ahead and changed some of those settings. So we capture that audit trail, and it's supported by this video so we can understand what's going on. And one of the things we do as part of the subtitle track, we also capture who's in control of the keyboard and mouse. So if you are working collaboratively, you have the ability to then understand who is actually in control of that system at that time during that change window. Now, if we look back in our session forensic search, one of the things you might want to do is look at the enhanced details of that audit trail. So we can click details, and what we'll see is then an overview at the top of everything that happened during that session. We can see here who connected and at what time and for how long. As we scroll down, we'll see all of the system information, the system that I connected from. I'll hide that system information for now. The fact I injected credentials from our password vault, so at any point I haven't had to know the username and password to log in to the system. And then all of the windows that we've opened and everything that we've gone through to perform those changes. So we capture that all in this tamper-proof audit trail. It's retained on the appliance for 90 days. If you have the ServiceNow integration, it will put all of this information back into that change window, change ticket. And you can see here that we've actually linked this back to our ServiceNow configuration item, as well as the task for that change management record. So just as I'm going through that, I'm going to take a look in the questions window to see if there are any questions. Here we are. So can we access different systems other than servers? So routers, firewalls, web applications, and self-created applications. So one of the things we have the ability to do is actually, as you've seen, connect with a headless Linux agent. So we have agents for Windows, Mac, Linux. We can also create jump item shortcuts. Now, a jump item shortcut allows us to create either a shell jump, so SSH or Telnet, over to a particular port and connect through onto these systems. So I think I actually have one set up here. So I could go ahead, jump over onto this system. If I need to, inject credentials, and it will take me to that command line. We can also create connections to RDP items. So if you wanted to make use of your existing terminal services licensing, we could create an RDP shortcut, and that would then appear in this list, as we have down here, where I can simply double-click and join that session. So yes, we can certainly connect to routers and firewalls and switches using SSH Telnet, and also some of your applications if they support those protocols. So with that in mind, are there any other questions you'd like to enter into the chat window? Okay, great. So I don't see anything else coming through. So, Stig, is there anything you'd like to say just to wrap this up?
No. So any questions? We will open the lines for questions.
All guests have been unmuted.
Hello, everybody. Was there any questions? I think that concludes our demonstration. If you are interested to have a trial of that, you're very welcome to contact either Symphony or us. You can find more on the Symphony website, and you will also be able to find information on the Bomgar website. Carl is just going to put up a slide with the website.
Steve, could you say something or Carl about the implementation of complexibility of the implementation or
Sure.
these
So
type of services? Yeah.
with the Bomgar appliance, as it is a turnkey appliance, we can quickly deploy this into your infrastructure. So typically we see very little sort of consultancy time spent, and actually we spend a lot of the time understanding how you want to use this and just deploying the system and getting you up and running. So typical deployments are days rather than weeks and months, to give you that kind of idea there. And again, we have both a virtual and physical appliance. So if you have VMware, we can deploy a virtual appliance with you, and that allows you to quickly scale it up and scale it down. We also have the physical appliance, which will support up to 15,000 endpoints. So again, we can help you deploy those, and we have clustering for them as well. If you want us to make sure they're highly available, we can help you with that too.
Okay.
Thank you, Carl. Is there any other questions? Okay. But if anything should pop up, you feel free to contact us or contact Symphony. Nora, over to you.
Yeah, sure. We will, of course, be happy to take all the questions or comments people may have. Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar, and it's been recorded, so we will send out a recorded version